Hi and welcome to the SI Experience with Chris Doughty. Very excited to have you all here today. We are live streaming on both our YouTube channels and in our Facebook group, which is the Sourcing Investments family. So please have a look for that. So today is a very special day. We haven't got the whole team, but we've got a few of the team, three of the team of mentors who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and many of you will know personally. So going to introduce them today. I'm very excited to have them on. So without further ado, I'll bring them on. Again, just please, add ourselves to the group. Come on in. We're doing this twice a week with everybody on topics of everything from meeting brokers next week to discussing about what's happening in COVID-19. So yeah, we're very excited. But today's a little bit of fun to meet some decent people, really amazing people. And so I'll bring them in. So here's Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. You?
All right, so I'm going to bring in one at a time, and we've got Anthony as well. Anthony's in South Africa. Hey, Anthony.
Hi guys. Hi Chris. Hi Bunny.
And finally, we're bringing someone a bit closer to home. Is Adam? How you doing, Adam?
Hey everyone. Yeah, very well, thank you. Good to see you all.
So here's three of us, and four of us, including me. And as I say, today is really some we've got the SI clinic, which we've asked last last week, which was actually if you've got any questions at any time, you go to sourcinginvestments.co.uk/promo/clinic, and that's for any investors who have got any questions around property, around investing, business structure, anything. And it's a private area which you can ask. And so it's really exciting to have that, and we've got quite a few questions that have come from that. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people diving in on this today with some live questions. So I will have a look. We haven't got any questions yet, but we've got loads of questions that were asked previously. So we'll get on and start with that. But first of all, I think rather than getting into the questions, we want to know, who you guys are and what you do. So, I've got to ask you a question. So Bonnie, it's what are you currently doing and in the lockdown, and what's your daily routine at the moment?
Okay, so daily routine is very unusual, as I guess everybody else's is. I'm actually stranded in Birmingham and I live in London. So I'm living with my 82-year young mother who loves Elvis. So I get up in the morning, I do my morning routine, hot lemon, yoga, meditation, and then crack on with business in the day. So currently working in the background on a few deals.
So very, 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 very structured, I think it sounds like discipline.
I like structure.
Structure and discipline. And as I say, how are you getting on in SA, Anthony? What are you getting on down there? And how are you getting yourself out?
Well, I mean, our lockdown is completely different to you guys. We've got a serious lockdown in the sense that we're not allowed outside unless it's for supplies or medical things. The police are out there, the army's out there. So if you get caught out in the streets, you definitely get prosecuted or arrested. So we stayed at home. It's now lockdown day 19. I haven't been out at all. The biggest problem I have is that I have no structure like Bonnie, unfortunately. I'm going to bed far too late in the evenings and getting up later. But then we kind of have a meeting as a team with the kids because we have to do homeschooling, work out what we're going to do, get that sorted. And then I do 2 or 3 calls with students and clients. Not too many calls during the day because I want to spend time with the kids and do the homework. But just, life carries on. And I think the great thing is having Skype and Zoom and all these great technology things, you can stay in touch. So not too bad, just no sun, and I'm missing the sea. So no surfing for me at the moment.
My heart bleeds. And we've already got some engagement. We've got a lady called Stella from Belgium with a question. We won't jump in there yet, but we've got it. Thank you, Stella, for your question. We'll get you in a minute. So, again, a bit of a question to know you guys, and I know this is probably one for Adam. 2020 has taken a bit of a what's the word? A bit of a skew from the norm of what we kind of planned in probably November, December last year compared to where we are now. What are your goals for 2020 now? Have you had to realign them, or what have you now got yourself doing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, business is as usual. We've just had to adjust and change. And so I work from home. I've been working from home for 4 or 5 years. And so I'm quite used to it. It doesn't overly feel that much different to me. In terms of meetings, a lot more of them are online. across webinars and so on. I run an event which I've had to convert to online, but there's great opportunity because I'm based in Reading. Now we've got a lot of people from London and up north in the UK who are coming onto the webinar, so they get to know about our particular event. And we've had a lot of people say to us that they want us to continue the webinar event even when this COVID-19 goes away. And so we're going to be doing live streaming of our event. So it's a really good opportunity from that perspective, from our networking and our events. In terms of our acquisition plan, that's definitely changed. We were aiming to acquire a lot more property. We are still doing that, but we've had to change how we go about that process. So quite typically people will see a property, they go and get a mortgage on it, and then they buy it. That's a very typical process of purchase. Now, really, what we're doing is we're going, well, we don't know what's going to happen in the long term. We don't know what the impact is with COVID. So really, it's about trying to hold out for as long as possible. So we're now either trying to secure a property for a length of time. So we secure it on something called an option contract, where we can hold for a period of 12 to 24 months. We agree a purchase price now, and we agree to buy later on. So we've still got security of controlling the asset in some way, shape or form, but we buy when we've got a better view on what's going to be happening in the future. And likewise, some of the assets that we're purchasing at the moment, we've actually managed to discount quite heavily. And the people who are selling to us, they're commercial clients, and they seem quite comfortable with the reduction. So because we've got a long-term play, actually, it's proving to be a bit of a benefit for us. So all in all, yes, there's changes, but we've got the toolkits and the mechanisms and the facilities to adapt to those changes. It's just a case of getting in the right headspace and the mind, having the right mindset to be able to adapt and react. And I think that's what's really important in this game at any one point in time.
So for yourself, with deals, being negotiated at the moment, obviously, there's the concerns where obviously people are thinking, what's going to happen to the property market. I think the property market, in people's minds, I've just been speaking with both solicitors and finance brokers to get the latest updates. And I think really what it's about is we've got to separate what is happening from a public perception perspective and confidence versus actually what is actually happening to the property market in itself. And I think if people disconnect those two thoughts that are very, they feel as though they're the same, but they're not. The actual property market at the moment, apart from like I said, the confidence levels of say lenders, the confidence levels of just people in general, that's a confidence play. But the actual property market itself is still continuing. It's still, people are still needing places to sleep. At the end of the day, yes, I'm sure there are some landlords out there who have had to reassess some strategies with regard to, I think yourself with the serviced accommodation, you've had to realign that strategy with regard to putting it on pause, right? For example, Airbnb and that transient sort of play that's going on. But really, at the end of the day, this is about having, I think you touched on it, and probably you'd agree, Bonnie, you've got to have a toolkit to adapt, because if it was just one size fits all, we would just be doing this in the same way every single year for 30 years. And that's not how the world of life is. So you've got to have that toolkit to adapt. And when you talk with clients, your mindset sort of approach, teaching them that you need to be adaptable. Is that right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you touched on quite a number of points there. And for example, with the SA side of our business, yes, we've had to put that on pause, but luckily we've now let a couple of those units to NHS workers, and so they can now facilitate and use those SA units, and we will go back from putting them on pause should the market change and should that section of the business become profitable again. Luckily, I have quite a diversified portfolio in the sense I've got buy-to-lets, HMOs, commercial, and so on. So that's quite good. As a generalized business, we've got multiple streams of income, and that protects us. When we're talking about, there's 2 or 3 different factors in investment anyway. What we do know is what's happening right now. So we do know that we're in COVID. We do know there's a slowdown. We do know that the banks are still open for business, albeit they are lending at a slower rate because they've got to adjust, right? So we know that now. What we don't know is what's going to happen in 12 months, 24 months. We don't know that. Nobody ever does. And that is ultimately investment. If we knew what was going to happen in 12, 24 months, there wouldn't be any money to be made, because that's the inherent risk. If it was easy, once again, you wouldn't make much money out of it. It's very easy to deposit your money into a bank and make a return. That's why you don't get paid much for it. So inherently with investment, you hear this all the time from people, especially who are wanting to learn about investment. Oh, how can I make sure that I pick the one thing that's going to work out and it's definitely going to happen? You go against the very principles of investment. It's about complexity, and it's about taking a view. So what we're dealing with at any one point in time in a market is how complex is the market and what's the longer term view.
Yeah.
The market has increased in complexity because everything's up in the air. So we know from an investment perspective that there might be some chance to make more money. Also, there's heightened risk. So there's increased risk of losing money as well. So that's from complexity. When we talk about time, once again, if we buy now, what's going to happen? We don't know. That's why I was saying earlier, if we secure things now and we have the option to buy at a later period, well, then that we get closer to the future, shall we say, without increasing our risk profile.
Yeah.
Mindset's extremely important as well. From the third of that, because you need to have a strong mindset so you don't keep getting pushed around by the market and pushed around by complexity and pushed around by time, because those are factors that are inherently involved. And then fourthly, exactly like you were saying, the UK hasn't produced enough housing for 35 years. No successive government has ever done it. And what's this going to do? Well, it's not going to increase the amount of building, is it? Because supply is now constrained. You can't get enough, cement and bricks and everything else into the country and so on. So the only thing that's happening is that there's less housing and there's more people who are needing housing. And I dare say, I'm being a little bit cheeky in tongue, but you've got a lot of people who happen to be spending a lot of time at home at the moment. So there might be a baby boom approaching at some point. And,
I'm going to caveat that and probably say there might be a lot of divorces. So actually there needs more housing for that.
Well, it might be that as well. Might be that, but it's different times. But once again, it never changes. The principles of investment never change, regardless of what's occurring, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's Brexit, whether it's recession and so on. It's still about taking those factors into place and making sure that you have your head still on. You know what I mean? Your head on a swivel and you can adapt quickly.
Yeah, I think there's some great points there. So we're getting quite a lot of questions in, and I'd love to sort of go through. So I'm gonna pick a person to kind of take it, and I think I'll probably put this one over to Anthony, sitting there very quiet. He's not normally quiet at all. So this is This is a live one from Luke. I'm going to put it on the screen. So here's Luke, and he's saying, I have had a flip property on the market since the beginning of the year with minimal interest so far. With everything that's going on, should I be looking at switching to a hold strategy? Where would you go with that, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, without having all the figures on hand, it's a difficult one. But looking at it, firstly, I would look at what kind of rental can you get. So I'd be looking at guaranteed rents moving forward. Have a look at the council, see what there is, and then see whether that works for me from an investment point of view. I would definitely be looking at holding it longer term now, but I would probably just make that a bit more complex. Why not offer a option to purchase in the future? So doing a lease option where the person is renting now and paying you a little bit more, and then you're selling it in the future. Because there's going to be a few people coming out of a situation where their job situation's changed, or they maybe got a new job, and so maybe they won't have the right credit score now to purchase their property. So offer it to that different clientele, the one that wants to buy but can't buy now, and you future sell it. That's how I would be looking at it. So you're still getting your sale, but you're getting it later on, and you're structuring it better at this stage. So hold, but sell at a later stage. That's what I'd go.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think Luke, again, the devil is in the detail there. So again, if you've got some more detail, please again, like I've said, if you do, obviously this is a public environment. If you want the guys to have a private conversation with you or whatever, please go to the clinic and submit your question with a lot more detail, and we'll be able to help, with a lot more detail. So I think it makes sense, makes a lot of sense. So hopefully that's answered your question there, Luke. And as I say, if you want anything more, then please go to the clinic and we'll help out there. So we've got some other ones as well, and I think we've got a lady. Actually, this is brilliant. This is definitely going to be Anthony. Sorry, Bonnie, you're going to take one of these other ones in a minute. But this is more SA related. So this is Stella. So I'm going to put Stella. Thank you for your question.
Stella.
So Stella from Belgium. But does sourcing investments exist in South Africa?
Does sourcing investment exist in South? That's a very good question, Chris. Okay. I've been pushing this agenda for a very long time, but Chris and I have both come to the understanding we want to make sure that we've got it, completely focused on the UK at this stage. USA has been launched very soon, isn't it, Chris? That's kind of the next step. And then after that, we'll be looking at Africa and South Africa as a whole. So at the moment, I'm doing the reconnaissance down here. I'm speaking to people. It's something we've spoken about many, many times, but it's getting everything ready. So yes, it's on its way, but it's not yet at the moment. However, we do have an informal structure of networking and events and people getting together. And with modern technology, there's nothing holding us back launching that slightly sooner. But I think America's next, and then the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think so, and I think with SA again, sort of SA is a very, very different market. I myself, don't have my foot, finger on the pulse down there, but it's a very different market compared to the UK. And if you were going to explain it in 30 seconds, or for the guys listening, what are the key differences in SA versus the UK?
Well, the main things in SA is it's always been viewed as a long-term strategy. So you're looking at a long-term hold to get a passive income when you retire. The banks look at your investments as linked to your income. So the more you earn, the more you can buy. However, you can't take your rental figures. Some banks are looking at that now, and they're considering a bit more, but not like the UK. And it's also capital driven. So, no interest only. So it's a lot more difficult to find those investment properties, where in the UK it's a lot easier. Is it possible? Yes. But it takes a little bit more experience and a bit more teaching to get you to that level where you need to be.
Right. Again, more detail. We'll probably do a webinar on SA in itself and bring you to the forefront. But Luke, by the way, just on that, Lucas just said, great. I like the extra lease to buy strategy there. He didn't think of that. Thanks. So that's I appreciate. I'm glad. That's brilliant. And so we've got another one here, and I think this is probably one for us all. But we've got Tim here who's come on and I think. Is asking a question that many people are asking. Could you recommend strategies for purchasing in COVID-19 for overseas investors that have a few mortgage funding options and lower borrowing rates now in the UK? I think I'll probably just jump on that because I've just come off, as I say previously, insightful call with the brokers and the lawyers, just again to get with the situation changing day to day. It's worth always having a conversation with your finance broker to understand what's going on, what are your options. So I'll probably take that one. So Tim, I think so with COVID-19, obviously that's creating quite a bit of uncomfortableness and confidence lacking in the market at the moment. The key thing is, from a lender's perspective, the lenders are still open for business. Now, I'm hearing that there are mixed messaging going on from various brokers, but I've literally just come off from one of our brokers on the SI platform who are Watts Commercial. Watts are able to do preferential rates if you come through the SI platform. And talking there with Mark Hayward, who's a fantastic guy, very simply that the lenders are open for business, albeit as again, slight changes to the norm. So typically now, even if you are an international investor, first time buying, there is open for business between 50 to 60% loan to values at rates of interest at around about 6.8%. And that's for a first time purchase under 100,000. Now, if you're buying property that's over 150,000, there are other options in this space. A minimum loan size of 100,000 at 65% loan to value, you can get rates as low as 4.3%. So again, this is for internationals, first time purchase, revaluations, and as I say, with revaluations and having a couple of properties already, there are more options available to you. The key thing is with this is, again, talking with why the lenders doing, some are doing desktop valuations, and again, desktop valuations on simple property purchases. So again, if it's just a straight, simple buy to let, no refurb needing, they're able to do desktop valuations. So again, the surveying side of it is not really limiting, going down to the property. There are some, with more complex deals or more stringent valuations, there needs to be a surveyor. Again, there is a bit of a limitation, but probably there's still 30% of them are still going to properties. And the key thing is that the advice from the brokers was your purchase of the acquisition legal process is going to take 2 to 3 months at least. Okay, at least. Even if you had an offer accepted today, you're going through that legal process of getting all of the information from the legal side, all of the searches, etc., that are done, and you're still going to go through that process. In 2 months' time, it's going to be a very different world here in the UK for sure. There's already talk. Good friend of mine is a GP. There's already talk suggesting that under 40, might be allowed out a little bit more soon. So that's on the mind of some of the core people. And again, whether the government go down that route or not. But the key thing is that it's going to be a very different, world in 2 months' time. So the key thing is, from the brokers, they say, get in the queue. The deals are there, and if the deal is working on the price that you're securing today, then it's a deal, okay? And if you move forward with that, you are going to be in the queue. For example, when it is time to open up, then the lender is just, all they need to do is send the surveyor down, and that's your final point with regard to getting the application through. So it's very key that the messaging is they're still open for business. It's slightly less on the LTV rates, but they are open for business, and you can happily go through the SI platform to get hold of the right brokers to do this. And again, that's not applicable to every broker, but I can tell you with 100% confidence that they are open for business. And please come through the platform and have a chat with Mark Hayward from Watts Commercial, who will be able to help you out. Hopefully that answered your question, Tim. And as I say, any other questions, please, ask away. But we've also got some other questions which I wanted to go through. And Bonnie, I think this is going to be very much in your space. So one of the questions that has come from, in actual fact, somebody very close to you. He's had an offer accepted on a property, and this is actually recently, and his question is, when should the seller's solicitors engage with me? So I wonder if you can help out with that one.
Yeah, so Bowen's actually my mentee, and he's taken massive action. So I'm really proud of him. That's his second property that he's actually working on. So it should be as soon as possible, and actually let the sourcer put the two parties together, because the whole point of a sourcer is that they use their expertise, their knowledge, their relationships, so their contacts, to make that transition as smooth as possible. So to engage ASAP.
Brilliant. And again, it's really just for everybody from a clarity perspective on this. This is really about the agreement. Any contract is about an offer. It's about acceptance, and then it's actually the fulfillment of that contract is the transfer of money. And so in this regard, at the start of the process, whether it's an agent, whether it's direct to vendor, at the end of the day, both the seller solicitors and the buyer solicitors should be informed that Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones at the end of the day have agreed a price, and therefore then each individual solicitor will then be working with both sides. Does that make sense? To take them through the process. So I would say, Bowen, again, highlighting and exactly what Bonnie says, as soon as possible. And once you've got that on record, you then, again, just for the record, you know who you're dealing with. So that's one for you. So thank you, Bonnie, for that. And here's a sort of a general one, and I think this is one, again, for probably for Adam here. This is from Judy in Hong Kong. Quite a high level one. What is a good location to buy?
Oh, do you know what? It's a really common question, actually, especially from international clients. Where is a good location to buy? And it's almost like there's this magical gold mine. They call it gold mine area, but there's a magical place in the UK that you can go to. Nobody's touched it. You're going to make fortunes out of it and so on. Once again, that's too simple. And if I said to you a good location to buy is, I don't know, Birmingham, for example, then what level of complexity is there in that response? There's none. And so how are you going to make money? You're probably not. And so when you look at what is a good location is anywhere across the UK. And that entirely depends on what your personal business plan is. If you want high cash flow, do you want high capital growth? Do you want to start going along the realms of trying to add value to a property through planning, extensions, building out and so on? There's so many different areas within property investment that you can do, and so many different strategies that not all the strategies work across the entire UK. So when we say it's a good area to buy or a good location to buy, my question back to you, Judy, would be, well, what's your plan? How much do you want to earn on a monthly basis? How much hassle do you want to deal with? How involved in the process? Do you have a good management company? Do you want to do service accommodation, which requires a lot more hands-on, a lot more stakeholders involved in the process? Do you want just buy to lets, because they're normally the most passive out of the entire lot of property strategies. It's a very open-ended question in a lot of respects. So I can't tell you a very good place to invest in the UK. I can tell you that the UK in general, just due to the fact that they haven't built enough housing in 35 years, population growth has increased. that's why the UK is positioned quite uniquely within the world to have quite a strong property market, and actually quite a stable one over time, unlike other property markets in the world that have tried to emulate the UK, where they've tried to build very, very quickly, try to constrain the supply whilst increasing the demand. But the problem is because they don't have the longevity of the UK that has typically done that over the past 50 years, you see massive shocks and spikes. You see that in the Chinese market, Singapore, other places, Australia, where you get these huge spikes where property prices go up massively, but then there's lots of properties on the market for rental and people can't rent them and they go down and so on. So the UK, in general, anywhere in the UK, could potentially be a good place to invest, but it just depends on your particular business strategy.
And I think, I'm going to, it's a very good point there. And I think I know somebody's very passionate about what's a good location to buy and his philosophy around it. Anthony, if I was going to ask you the same question, what is a good location to buy? Please, I've heard this in the pub. I've heard this, is passionate about it, about what your opinion is on this. And I think everybody should know that opinion, because I think it's got a lot of weight. So, what is a good location to buy, Anthony? And tell us your thoughts around that.
Yeah, Adam's so correct. In this is the question that probably gets most asked by international students every time. And the answer for me in the last 5 years of my training now has been the same. It's following the numbers. And I don't know, I can't express it even. I get too excited. I might have to calm down for a minute. Yeah, it's following that. And I think if anybody's watched CSI, so the program behind it all, and in the program, he talks about the evidence never lies. And that came from Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock Holmes was always talking about evidence, not looking at what you perceive to be the right place or perceive to be, my friend invests in Birmingham or in Stoke or in Folkestone. None of those things matter. Now, like Adam said previously, what your strategy is still important. So deciding what you're going to be doing. But once that's been decided, then follow the numbers. Run those deals in those different areas. And then keep the ones that are working for you from a lending point of view, and from a purchase point of view, and from a rental point of view. Then take those items and then look at where they are. Now discover where your area is. Is it in Cape Town? Is it in Pretoria? I'm not going to use UK names anymore, and because you might be thinking I'm suggesting those areas, and I'm not. It's about following those numbers. Now, as an investor, if you keep doing that, you become a better investor. Unfortunately, we were trained to follow one place because we had to build up our team. With sourcing investments, you don't have to have a team just in one place. You can have teams all over the place. Bonnie is working hard to find more sourcing agents, which means you can buy more places by simply following the numbers. So it's that simple and that complex in the same sentence. But keep following the numbers, find those areas, and then the sourcing agent will be there with the deals, and Bonnie and the team can help you to move those things forward. And you're in a much better position than any UK investor will ever be by diversifying.
It's brilliant. Again, follow the numbers, I think, really is the summary from that. And again, on a highlight, the highlight is you've got to figure out what you personally want. Does that make sense? Out of the journey, do you want, is your immediate need cash flow? Does that make sense? To replace income? Is it really about, you're willing to take a longer term position on a market growth cycle, which could be a 10, 15 year play? Do you actually really want to aggressively force a value add, so through development, etc.? So again, I think the key thing is there, from that question is very much around, we have lots of different locations here in the UK. We're not the biggest country in the world, but lots of different locations which provide opportunity to suit your needs and requirements. And I think overall, at the end of the day, whether it's development, whether it's a simple buy to let, getting a double-digit yield, up in Glasgow, through to doing a six flat development here in London with a GDV of 1.2 million, and hopefully selling that for a 20% profit margin. Again, it's everything in between. So really, this is about figuring what you want out of it, and so therefore from that, that's where having a good coach, good mentor can actually get to the crux of that and set you up with a plan and a structured journey. So we're getting some good other ones asked in here. So I'm gonna put one up. So this is probably a good one for you, Bonnie. So here's some Steph from Australia, and she's saying, why do I need a sourcing agent, and what do they do?
Okay, yes. So, Steph, lovely to meet you virtually. So, you're going to need a sourcing agent because you're not actually going to be able to come to the UK on a regular basis, see what locations you'd like to invest in, do the viewings, communicate with, if you're going to have a refurb done, communicate directly with the refurb team on a one-to-one, face-to-face basis. So the importance of your sourcing agent is that they are there, they've already built their contacts, their connections, they've got the relationships in place. There's trust, and so they're going to be able to do everything for you. They have the knowledge of the location, of the strategy, of what potentially is going to be best for you, depending on what, just to go back to what Anthony was just talking about following the numbers. It starts with what your starting point is and where is your investment, what can you afford to invest, and potentially how much can you afford to lose if there are errors along the way. So your sourcing agent will help you along with all of that so that you do have a smooth journey along the way. And they're there to help you, guide you, so that you don't have the pitfalls that they've seen others make.
And I think just to add to that as well, I think, and again, this is all about, warts and all, as I call it. We're not here just to give the rose-tinted view. At the end of the day, that this is about developing relationships with people, and that can be done in a very structured, controlled way. And I think blindly trusting people and giving money away. In actual fact, there's a great comment just come in here from Stella, so I'm just going to put that up. So if I put that up, so Stella, she's got to know sourcing investments on Facebook. Join the group because she's interested in investing properly in the UK. Is it actually possible to meet the sourcing team face to face? Because there's a lot of scamming out there, and I would want to put my money with a guarantee. I presume that is. That's the typo. And I think with that, just highlighting what that means. Again, this is why historically solving the actual operational execution of investing is what sourcing investments was born out of. And now with the mentorship team, it's actually bringing that coaching, that training, that long-term support, which is not just 30 days after any kind of normal training. This is about really supporting somebody through a longer-term journey. And again, for me, the value in that is the strength of the commitment. And then sourcing agents themselves are not there just to be what's the word, running around for you and wiping your bottom. They are there as a facilitator of the potential.
Oh, we've lost him.
I think we've
He's gone. I'll carry on. So exactly like we were saying, in terms of meeting people face to face and the deal sources face to face. Well, if you do happen to come and visit us over in the UK, then by all means you can go and visit them and build those relationships, like Chris was saying. He's back now, so I'll let him carry on.
I'm back.
Hey, Chris.
I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so again, really good point. And Stella is another question from Stella. She's engaging a lot. So lots of love for Stella today. Do we make provisions for other members of the team, like accountants and brokers? Stella, I would highly recommend you go to the website and click on the video, and you'll see exactly what happens. But the answer is yes. But again, if you don't know quite what you're doing, just please reach out, go to the clinic with questions, and we can engage with you from there. So I appreciate that. So what was I going to say? So we are now 30 minutes in. Let me just go down to, here we go. Now we're back in it fully. So I think as a bit of fun, we've got some more comments. Let me heck. So, oh God, loads of questions now. Tamarin, Selway. So again, this might go on a little bit more than 35 minutes. Are all the sourcing agents that post deals on SI vetted by SI? I can tell you that, yes, they are. And the word vetted is we make sure that they have got all of the compliance documentation that is required. We have two levels of sourcing agents. We have expert sourcing agents and we have professional, and it's a two-tiered structure. The professional ones have completely been vetted. We go and see them on the ground. We go and check their power teams, and we do everything that we can to mitigate. Does that make sense? Any issues that potentially could happen. But what we cannot force, does that make sense, or cannot actually control, is behavior of humans and individuals. And that's why the sourcing investment system in itself with our chat functions, with our escrow services, with the transparency and the support of the team around you, allow you to do everything with that sourcing agent in confidence, knowing that if anything goes wrong, there is a point of record. So yes, we do vet them. And again, the expert sources, who are the ones who also have their own landing pages provided by Sourcing Investments publicly, these guys, you can see their compliance, if they are fully compliant or not, because it's their responsibility. We're here as the ecosystem to allow you to get line of sight to them and also facilitate the deals with all the power teams, etc. So everything in one place. But at the end of the day, knowledge, understanding how the processes work, understanding how you analyze a deal, understanding business contracts and building contracts, and what does good look like, are more part of it. So education is just as important as actually having the system to execute. And that's where we can bring these both together with SI. So I hope that answers the question. We've got loads more. Oh my God. Actual fact. So I'm gonna again. We've got a few more. So here's a good one. It's from Luke. Luke again. Should we be looking at variable rates now on new mortgages? Who'd like to take that one? Go on.
I think, again, it's a very, very good question. I remember when we had the crisis before, and when was that the first crisis we had, Chris? We had interest rates going up 0.25% every 6 months. And I remember at the time looking at my portfolio, I always took the strategy of having fixed and then variable. So as I bought my property portfolio, I started varying throughout the whole scenario. And what helped me there was, you don't know what the future is going to hold. And if we did, we'd all be sitting in the Bahamas right now and not doing any work, because, you know, we can't predict what the future holds. So for me, my strategy would always be is varying those two rates. So having fixed and then having a variable rate on each side of your portfolio. So if you have 10 properties, 5 on fixed, 5 on variable rate. In that way, if things go up on the one side, you're benefiting on the other side. If you've got a smaller portfolio, then I think it looks at your risk. So if you a kind of person like me, I'm quite optimistic. I think everything's going to be amazing all the time. And when it doesn't happen that way, I'm surprised. So I would be looking at, okay, going fixed and then getting guaranteed rent. That way I know what my income's going to be. Yep. So that'll be more what Cindy would like to do. So I think look at where you are, how much of a risk taker you are, and then make the decision based on that. But if you have a larger portfolio, I would diversify and have one on each one as you move forward.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good balance. And again, with discussing these things, you've got your power team members. What's your long-term strategy? Talking with your brokers. I mean, at the end of the day, this is quite interesting. Bank of England base rate has gone down recently, but actually mortgage rates have gone up slightly because, again, it's not just, everybody thinks it's just to do with the Bank of England base rate. It's actually to do with the perception of risk of what the lender lending money out at the moment is. And so at the moment, with the nervousness of confidence of people with not working, and hence why the government's stepping in with the money programs, which are helping with people getting paid 80% who are not able to work, etc. Hopefully we'll plug that gap. But that's why in a lot of cases that interest rates have gone up slightly, not gone down. And so I think actually in a longer term view, and this is my own personal opinion, I think after this sort of situation over the next 2-3 months has resided, or in actual fact has normalized, become the normal, I think we'll see the government use a few tools from an economic perspective, which includes quantitative easing, which includes printing money. So I think there'll be more money in the system, and slowly over the next sort of year, 2 years, we will see that obviously that try and kickstart the economy in order with more money in the system, more ability to lend, and the cycle starts again, as they say. Everybody thought the whole world was going to blow up in 2008. Well, I'm still here, So again, it's about being adaptable and everything. So I think I think today we've had a load of good questions, and I really appreciate. Well, here we go. Oh, sorry, one more. Would you recommend? Who's going to take this one? This is from David McFlurry. It sounds like I could do with a McFlurry. I haven't had one for so long because McDonald's is closed. But anyway, that's your question, David. Would you recommend to invest now, as people can't move easily and it's hard to find tenants? I think it's a very valuable question. You want to take that one on, Adam?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so would you recommend to invest now? that's a view you have to take. I can't say that I'm going to recommend. That would be financial advice. We can't give that. Would I say to invest at any point in time? Yes, it just depends on the market circumstance, and it's using the right tools. So if you have a good toolkit and you understand all the different variables that you can use within property investment, and you have more options available, then you'll find that, a bit like what Anthony was saying about having variable rates and fixed rates, you've got purchase, or you've got options, or you've got lease options, or you've got exchange with delay completion, and lots of other different lots of options. So to invest now, yeah, why not? I invested a lot of time actually, and I bought most of my portfolio in 2008, actually in the recession, and that paid off very well for me in 2012 when most of my properties doubled in price. So I can't say that there's ever a good or a bad time to invest. It's just about using the right tools in that period. Exactly like you identify, people can't move easily, and it's hard to find new tenants. Absolutely. That definitely has changed. There has been a shock to that, especially because government has said, well, don't do anything that's not essential. Are people still moving? Yes, albeit a lot of other people are not. In terms of, it's harder to find tenants. It depends on what types of tenants. If you look at what's happening now, I'm finding I'm getting quite a number of requests for individual rooms or ensuite rooms and apartments, because you'll get families or couples, husband and wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, and one of them has to go, and they have to go and live away from the family home because they work on the front line at the NHS. So I've got tenants next door to where I live, both work for the ambulance service, and one of them is having to go away for the next 2 months and live away from the family because the wife actually has a heart condition. And that's happened on numerous times. So the tenants are changing. You'll probably see over the short term that there's a lot of requirement from NHS and health workers and so on. I know that the NHS is currently trying to get more properties and helping to support that. Like Chris says, unfortunately, you're probably going to get divorces and something like that happening because people have to spend more time together. So I think when you say it's harder to find tenants, I think there's this initial shock period. What's it going to look like when things normalize? Exactly like Chris says, when this feels more normal, are tenants going to start moving? Well, yes, because there are still pressures that are going to cause people to have to move in some circumstances, whether that's relationship breakdown or due to jobs or whatever that's going to look like. So if you think about the acquisition process in the UK, unless you've got a big old bag of cash and you were going to buy today, and even then you're talking probably the best part of 3 to 4 weeks before you've actually got the property. If you're going to go through a standard mortgage, that's going to take you a good couple of months. Solicitors and legals and searches, they're still going to take time. So you've still got this kind of lagged period of 4 to 5 months before you have to purchase a property. And this is a good and a bad thing in the UK, but you can pull out of a property transaction all the way up to just before exchange. So you're not really committing anything until you've gotten to exchange. So if you're going to do 4 to 5 months worth of legwork now, what's the situation going to look like in 4 to 5 months' time? Probably going to be completely different. That being said as well, what you don't want to be doing is securing something now for a price, wait 4 to 5 months, maybe 6 or 7 months, you spent a load of money doing searches and so on, and then the seller pulls out because the market's changing and they want more money or something like that. So you might want to try and secure your transactions down now with maybe an option to say that you've got exclusivity to buy the property over the next 6 months for a set price. But it's hard to find tenants right now, I get that. But they've changed, and once again, it's about getting your head on a swivel, as it were, trying to see the angles, trying to see, is there a different play, trying to see where the market's going to evolve and trying to adapt to that. And I'd say if you're ahead, if you're a good investor and you've got that strong mindset, you're probably ahead of the curve by a lot of people, miles ahead while everybody else is worrying, and you'll be able to cherry pick those opportunities as they arise and execute a lot quicker.
And just, sort of to add to that, I think, again, a really good question. Again, I think we're going to be in a very, very different world in about 3 months' time, very different. And so, again, it's really about, having that confidence to take the plunge now. Does that make sense relative to, the environment? So, like, for example, in 2008, again, I was buying, HMOs. They weren't HMOs, developing into HMOs, and buying those for the student market. And again, I sort of want to highlight that's I've got a predominant portfolio down in a place called Plymouth, which focuses on students. We've already got 2021 secured for the whole year with guarantees for all of aspects of it. Students, for example, are still getting their loans paid from the government. The loans are being paid in order to actually, to exist when they're still doing their university degrees. again, the whole point of universities, for example, is now most of it's online. I mean, long gone are the days when 20 years ago I was at university. I still think I was 8 years ago, but it was 20. We had to go to class, otherwise you would miss it. You would miss the information. Now, 99% of all classes and all class notes and tests and stuff are done online during the term time. So in actual fact, from a university and students' perspective, this is probably as normal, apart from, they're not able to go out clubbing until 4 o'clock in the morning. So in actual fact, it's not again, David, look at different tenant types. Does that make sense? If you're talking about investing, you analyze this and say, well, actually the student play. Recently, we've had two HMOs in a prime student market up in Liverpool. Is that going to be a good play? And again, talk to lettings agents. Does that make sense? They're the ones on the front line, and front line knowing what people are interested in. I can tell you quite certainly that people are still moving around, because yesterday when I was out walking the dog, there was traffic jams. I mean, joking aside. So at the end of the day, life does still continue, and as I say, we're not in a complete vault, but at the same time, will this last forever? No, it won't, is the answer. So if you want to take a position now, I still think if the deal stacks up today, then the deal stacks up whenever, and that's future bound as well. So right, we're going to finish up in a minute, but this is something that I've concocted. I'm going to pick randomly, but I think actually, I'm going to say randomly. Bonnie's a lovely lady. Anna's a good gentleman, but I'm definitely going to pick on Anthony. So with Anthony, we're gonna do a quick fire session, a bit of fun. Quick fire session, and I can say to everybody, people do not know what is happening here. And neither does Anthony. So this is just for a bit of fun. But again, just before we finish up, I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for your questions. This will be recorded. It's going to be on both the YouTube channel and Facebook. So please join the Facebook group, SI Sourcing Investments Family. We're doing these every Tuesday and Thursday, not just with a discussion with the mentoring team. We've got the SI Clinic. So again, please, if you don't have the confidence of coming on, you can go to the SI Clinic and ask that, and that will be in private question, and the team will get back to you. We're here to help and very much, obviously, facilitate any questions or issues that you have. We've got a much wider team as well. So again, it's not just the four of us here. We've got a 20-strong team. So I'm pretty sure one person knows, and if we don't know, then we'll know somebody who does know. So we're going to do, as I say, we're going to have a bit of fun now. And as I say, for anybody, just before anything, if anybody is wanting to understand how to do a live deal analysis, we're going to be focusing on Manchester, but don't let that fool you. We've got 5 places remaining. We opened it up to 30 people last week. Already we've got, I think, 64, and we're trying to just sneak the last sort of 5 in, 64, 65 into 70. So suddenly it's huge. And that's tomorrow, Friday at 1 p.m. So going through a live deal analysis and showing you exactly how to formulate that and understand what you're getting into. So please, anybody on here, register for that. sourcinginvestments.co.uk/webinar1. But now we're going to have a bit of fun. So I'm going to see if I can put Anthony up on screen. Can you still hear me, Anthony?
Yes, I can, Chris.
Brilliant. So that means everybody else can. So it's going to be the quick fire round. This is Anthony. We're going to do some fun. 60 seconds on the clock, please. And this is for everybody else. So do you have any pets?
Yes, 3 cats.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Follow your dreams and make it happen.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
What's your biggest annoyance?
People that moan just about stuff. Get on with it. Come on. Jeez,
if you weren't in the property industry, what would you be doing?
I can't say that. It was a family show.
What's on your iPod or iPhone playlist right now?
A lot of classical at the moment, strangely enough, and then Frozen and a lot of kiddie stuff because my kids have got a hold of it. So
seriously,
a lot of Disney stuff. Yeah, it's hardcore. But Linkin Park just straight afterwards.
Linkin Park, that's better. Who would play you in a movie of your life?
Tom Cruise, definitely. Yep.
Strong.
Yeah.
Any
Maybe Tom Hardy even.
Any
Sorry?
tattoos?
No.
No tattoos.
My dad always said, if you have a tattoo, the cops will catch you really quickly. So I'm not really sure where he thought my life was going to go, but I kind of kept to that one. No tattoo.
If you could be from another decade or era, which would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm stuck between Victorian and then kind of American cowboy kind of Western area. So I don't know, tough one.
Go Western. Go Western.
Yeah, I go Western. Yeah, because at least then you can shoot your way out of any problems. So yeah, no, probably Western then.
Describe yourself as a teenager in 3 words.
Obnoxious. 3 words. Jeez. Cocky, cocky, obnoxious, and all-knowing. Probably, yeah.
I think like most of us, right? I don't know like that. Okay, if your house was on fire, what 2 things would you run back in to get?
My phone. Obviously, the cats are out, the kids are out, of course. From a materialistic point of view, probably just my phone. That's about it.
Okay, the final one. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, one superpower. What would it be? It's a superpower I would like to have, but actually wouldn't like to possess, if that makes sense. So reading people's minds, but then sometimes I don't want to know what they're thinking. So I'm going to skip that superpower and go for flying. I want to be Superman.
There you go, flying. That's the 60 seconds round. I think it's a little bit longer, but thanks for that, mate. That's awesome. Good job. So having a bit of fun, as I say, real people, we care a lot about all of our mentees and are coming through, and we're very excited to be able to offer that. So lots and lots of stuff's coming. We've got a lot of more comments. Oh, here we go. We've got, Laura saying dark chocolate always. Yeah, absolutely wrong. And Luke saying, thank you so much for your answers. Yeah, so there's a lot of love. David as well says thank you. We've got loads more questions, but what we'll do, guys, is we'll save those up for another time with the guys, and we'll go through it. And trust me, every question is valid. So again, if you do have anything that you want to ask, please go to, as I say, the Sourcing Investments Clinic. So the clinic, that's the address. Again, I'm going to put that. But in the meantime, please join our Facebook groups, weekly videos, webinars, new products, offers, and more. Get into everything. It's all down below. You can click on it. Yeah, I'm doing the link. I love that. Even everybody's getting into it. So have a great time. Pleasure, everybody. Please like us, and more importantly, if you've got any questions, give us a shout. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bonnie, Adam, and Anthony. And thank you for not cracking Anthony under the pressure.
That's all good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Bye.